Hi again. In this video, I will talk about humanistic learning theory, but thought I would start with food. At Malmö University, we had several restaurants and cafes in the university buildings. When working in any of these buildings, this is undeniably convenient for both employees and students. But what we don't always talk about, or at least think about, is that these are absolutely necessary for learning to take place. This might be something that Abraham Maslow, that was arguably one of his insights. He is an influential figure in what has been described as the humanistic psychology, a branch of psychology that opposed the overtly narrow view of humans in behaviorism, where human action tended to be reduced to a consequence of heredity, environment, and stimuli. It also went against psychoanalysis, which emphasized that internal unconscious mental conditions control humans. Instead, humanistic psychology focused on the fact that people can make their own decisions. The self can challenge what is imposed on it from the outside and go against his or her internal drives. Humans are not robots, so to speak. Maslow's insight was that humans have a hierarchy of needs. For a person to fulfill their potential, these needs must be met in order, as he reasoned that it was difficult to achieve a higher need in the hierarchy unless the others were already met. The first four needs he mentioned were deficit needs. Among these he included psychological needs, need for security, love and belonging, and esteem. The psychological needs are these kind of basic physiological needs are the basic human needs for water, warmth, food, and so on. Security was about being able to feel safe from various dangers. Love and belonging then relate to the need for relationships and community. Esteem is about self-confidence and feeling competent and respected. According to Maslow, these needs then must be satisfied in this order. Thus, if you are not secure, it is difficult to create meaningful relationships with someone. If these deficit needs are not satisfied, Maslow believed that a person could not advance them to other human needs. One will thus have to be governed by the environment or the unconscious mental conditions of which one is part of, and will thus have few opportunities for self-actualization. But once these are satisfied, the so-called extended hierarchy of needs may come into play. And the first one of these is cognitive needs, where we seek information, understanding, and express curiosity. This is thus the need to learn. Thus, if we accept Maslow's reasoning, school meals becomes an important issue. That is, how can you expect someone to learn if they go hungry at the same time? This is also true in higher education, which is one of the reasons why restaurants and cafes are an important condition for learning to take place at Malmö University. But it is also because a relevant question of how universities and other higher education institutions create then security, how to create opportunities for the formation of social relations, which is relevant for students who do not have a social context when they arrive in a new place of study. And also for teachers, it becomes relevant, among other things, to contribute to the students' self-confidence by confirming that to their esteem then, by confirming that the student have the ability to be part of the education that they are part of, and that they are respected as part of that field of study. So by contributing to the satisfaction of these deficit needs, deficit needs, universities and other higher education institutions can thus contribute to student learning. At the same time, Maslow emphasized that humans have other needs after the cognitive ones that are also important in higher education. The need that comes after the cognitive is the aesthetic need. This need is about being able to see the beauty around you. It is thus a basic form of appreciation of the world that surrounds you. However, the need that comes after that is of greater interest to us today, the need for self-actualization. So here we start to get to the core of a humanistic learning theory. It argues that human beings are fundamentally interested in development, and that this can also be seen as the ultimate goal of being human, at least if you ask Maslow. According to him, self-actualization was about a need to become everything that one is capable of becoming. That is, it is a need that is satisfied when one is able to fully utilize one's talent and interests. Thus, a characteristic of successful people who are also admired for their success, according to Maslow, is that they have managed to satisfy this need. These are people who are good at solving problems, have the ability to critically examine the world around them, are creative, and are not bound by social conventions. I can briefly mention that Maslow more recently, at the later part of his research, in the later stages of his research, saw transcendence as the highest form of need. That is a deep spiritual need that he identified. I think this may have implication for understanding the role of higher education, but it is such a broad issue that I cannot go into it in this video. We'll leave that to another time. But anyway, whether Maslow's hierarchy is reasonable, it might be debatable. No one would deny that humans have these needs, perhaps, but is it really the case that these needs always have to be satisfied in a certain order? Is it not the case that people often move back and forth on this list, even jumping between different needs? Having said that, Maslow highlighted that human beings have certain needs that influence each other, with one unfulfilled need affecting the satisfaction of another. What I want to take away is that from this video is I want you to take away from this video is that Maslow believed that self-actualization was a need that all humans possessed and was an expression of realizing their potential as an individual. For this to happen, however, all other needs in the hierarchy of needs must be met, which poses challenges for teachers in higher education institutions. But it also puts a student-centered perspective on learning, which is something that scholars within the humanistic and learning theory tradition have highlighted. Here I can especially mention the psychologist Carl Rogers, who was influential in developing the humanistic learning theory in this direction. Nevertheless, if you like, you can think that the humanistic learning tradition conceives of human life as a journey towards self-actualization. What this means will vary. Although the needs are similar, they will be expressed and satisfied in different ways depending on individual context and particular interests. In any case, the main idea is that it is not up to the teacher and higher education institutions to determine what good self-actualization looks like. The student has the ability to decide what it should look like and how it should be strived towards, how it can be achieved. What higher education can do, however, is to create the right conditions for learning to take place and for self-actualization to take place. So based on a humanistic learning theory, some learning practices have therefore been developed that aim to address the needs of students and make them the focus of the learning situation. This includes an emphasis on student choice, where students are given control over their learning and focus on what leads to their self-actualization. Engagement and self-motivation are also important, where efforts are made to inspire students to become curious inquirers. Self-evaluation is also important, as grades are not what determines whether a student will have succeeded, but how far they have come on their path towards self-actualization. And then a safe learning environment is also emphasized, and it is taught that students need to feel physical, mental, and emotional safety in order to learn. And a final aspect that can be mentioned is that a humanistic learning theory emphasizes that emotions and knowledge are interconnected, which means that one thinks of the student more holistically, meaning a person with varying needs and emotions, and not just a person who has to take part in a certain knowledge or be fed a certain kind of knowledge. That was a small introduction to humanistic learning theory. In the next video, I will be talking about transformative learning theory. So see you there.